Krishna, welcome everyone. Good to see you all. Tonight we will continue with our study of the Nectar of Devotion, the Bhakti Shastri course. And tonight we're continuing with the Nectar of Devotion. Tonight we're beginning chapter 11 of the Nectar of Devotion. Chapter 11 is called Aspects of Transcendental Service. So if you have any questions or comments as we go, then please ask. Chapter 11 will cover another group of devotional angas or items of bhakti, which we practice on the devotional path. So, chapter 11, Aspects of Transcendental Service. This chapter describes the last and most advanced of the 9 main processes of devotional service: Dashyam, Sakyam, and Atman Nivedanam. So there is a list, we've mentioned this several times, that there's a list of devotional items given by Prahlad Maharaj in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dashyam, Sakyam, Atman Nivedanam. So these are 9 types of bhakti or types of devotional service. Now, as we've mentioned previously, these 9 come from these 9 are then elaborated upon, and they become the 64 angas of bhakti. So the last 3 in that list of 9 is Dashyam, Sakyam, and Atman Nivedanam. So these are the first three items which are discussed in this chapter tonight. So these 3 are part of the 9, which means they're extremely important items of bhakti. So we'll discuss them tonight, and if you have any questions or comments as we go, then please ask. So the first one is Dashyam. Dashyam means servitorship. There are 2 aspects of servitorship: Kamapanam, offering one's activities to the Lord, and Kainkaryam, serving in the mood of a personal attendant. The Skanda Purana elaborately describes the first aspect, see Nectar of Devotion 95. The Naradiya Purana briefly alludes to the second aspect, which is spoken of on page 96. So each of those 9 types of bhakti, from Shravanam to Atman Nivedanam, it is mentioned there is a particular person or devotee who personifies that particular item of bhakti. So Shravanam is hearing, that's Parikshit Maharaj. Kirtanam is chanting, that is Shukadev Goswami. Smaranam, remembrance, that's Prahlad Maharaj. And now we have Dashyam. So who is the personality who personifies Dashyam, or is the example of perfect Dashyam, servitorship? That's Hanuman, right? Hanuman. Hanuman is considered to be the perfect servant or the perfect devotee in Dasya Bhav or Dasya Bhakti. He's a perfect servant. He's just absorbed in service. He wants nothing else but to serve Lord Ramachandra. So Hanuman, he is actually it's mentioned in Nectar of Devotion earlier. We went through it that Hanuman was offered the benediction of Lord Ram at the end of the Battle of Lanka. He said, "What benediction do you want?" And Hanuman was not asking for anything. So he said, "What do you want?" He said, "Do you want moksha, liberation?" And he said, "Well, if liberation means I merge into you, then to me that is worse than hell. I only want to serve you. So he is the perfect servant. And when you go to India, you see many, many statues of Hanuman everywhere, all over India practically. He's very popular all over India. And these statues of Hanuman, whenever we see them, we pray to him and we're reminded that we should beg him for his mercy and his benediction, that we can also become worthy servants of the Lord, because service is the essence of bhakti. Of course, in the high rasas, you have Sakya, you have Vatsalya, and you have Madhurya ras, which means the devotees are absorbed in friendship, love in itself. They're absorbed in friendship, parental ras, or conjugal love. But the essence of all of those rasas is still servitorship. It's about service. That's why we beg for service. Gopi Bhatu Pada Kamalayo Dasa Dasa Anudasa. We want to become a servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna, the master of the gopis. So that's our meditation, to become a perfect servant. So whenever we see Hanuman, we pray to him like that. Now, very often in India, you see that Hanuman is depicted in an orange color, which is not his natural color. He's not naturally orange. But the story is that he came, Lord Ramachandra said to Hanuman, bring Sita Devi, bring my wife, ask her to come to see me. So he went to Sita Devi, and she was putting the vermilion, the kumkum, in her part, reddish color. And Hanuman said, please come, Lord Ramachandra wants to see you. She said, I'll just be a moment. I'll just have to apply the kumkum. And then he said, why do you do that? Why do you put that there? She said, because it pleases Ram. It's the sign of a married woman. In their center part, they'll put some kumkum, vermilion. And they also wear a red dot between the eyes. Like that. So they put it's a sign of a married woman. So she said, this will give Ram pleasure, Ram happiness. So she left to go and see Ram. And then Hanuman thought, well, if that gives Ram pleasure, I'll smear it on my body. So he smeared it all over himself. So that's why we see him in that reddish, orangish color. He's like a perfect servant of Lord Ramachandra. So we pray like that because we also want to become perfect servants of the Lord, which is the essence of bhakti. So, as it mentions here, there are two types of servitorship. Karmapanam, offering one's activities to the Lord, and kainkaryam, service in the mood of a personal attendant. So we'll analyze these two so we get a proper understanding. Karmapanam, offering one's activities to the Lord. Karmapanam has two subdivisions. One, offering the fruits of one's prescribed duties in varnashram, and two, offering direct service within the 9 main processes of devotional service. So these are the two varieties of karmapanam. The first is offering the fruits of varnashram. So obviously that's a lower level of servitorship. It's very good, but it's not the highest level. It means that you do what you want to do in this world. You act according to your conditioned nature, your material nature within this world, according to your psychophysical makeup, according to the modes of nature. We have a particular mind and body. So then you use your particular propensities, your proclivity to serve Krishna according to your body and your mind, and you offer the results to Krishna, which is good. That's offering the results of varnashram, or the fruits of varnashram. So you're acting according to your bodily designation in this world, and you're offering that to Krishna. But then there's a higher stage, and that higher stage is that you offer direct service within the 9 main processes of devotional service. As we mentioned earlier in our study of Nectar of Devotion, how do we say it? The Varnashram, the institution of Varnashram, is not an item of bhakti, right? It's not an item of devotional service. It's not listed within the 64 types of bhakti or the 64 types of devotional service. This is made clear by Rupa Goswami back in the earlier chapters. Varnashram is not an item of bhakti in and of itself. It's supportive of bhakti, right? To act according to our conditioned nature and to serve Krishna, that supports our devotional service. But it is not pure devotional service. Whereas acting according to the 9 items of bhakti, hearing, chanting, remembering, praying, worshipping the deity, worshipping the lotus feet, being a servant, being a friend, and offering one's very self, that is considered to be these are the 9 levels of bhakti, or the 9 items of bhakti which we can offer to Krishna, and they are spiritual items. So when we offer these things to Krishna, it's considered to be a more elevated way to serve Krishna. So we try as much as possible to focus on those 9. And that's what's being mentioned here, servitorship. We try to serve Krishna, right? We try to dedicate as much as we can our mind, our body, our words for the pleasure of Krishna as much as we can. And in that way, we give pleasure to Krishna and we advance in our Krishna consciousness. So this is karmapanam. Some teachers accept both subdivisions as bona fide forms of servitorship in sadhana bhakti. Our acharyas, however, do not. Pure devotional service must be free from work born of fruitive desire. Therefore, our acharyas do not accept offering the fruits of our prescribed duties as a bona fide item of sadhana bhakti. So in other words, as we said, considered pure devotional service. When you do what you want and then you offer the fruits to Krishna, that's good. But it's not pure devotional service because you're doing what you want, right? I like to eat, say, lasagna. You know, that's my favorite prasadam, right? So I like to, so I can say, well, I cook lasagna because I like it and I offer it to Krishna. That's not pure devotional service because that's what I want. But then I offer it to Krishna, which is good. But it's not pure devotional service. Pure devotional service is you look at the Chaitanya Charitamrita, for example, and you see the list of items which Lord Chaitanya ate and was offered, and then you try to cook those, understanding that would give the Lord pleasure. So that's a example of how to practice pure devotional service. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's commentary on Brahma Samhita, text 61, supports this. He says that offering our activities in Varnashram is known as Gauna Dharma, subsidiary devotional activity. Such activities are not directly bhakti, although they may be indirectly conducive to devotional service. Varnashram is known as Gauna. Gauna means it's like secondary or supportive bhakti. So it is helpful to devotional service, but it doesn't, in and of itself, it's not directly bhakti. So practicing Vana and Ashram, the rules of Vana and Ashram, they're not directly bhakti, but they support bhakti. They're gona, secondary. Lord Krishna confirms the same point in Srimad Bhagavatam 11:25-23 in the Uddhava Gita. As explained in the BBT commentary on this verse, ordinary work performed as an offering to God without desire for the result is understood to be in the mode of goodness, whereas activities of devotional service, such as chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord, are transcendental forms of work beyond the modes of nature. So, as is being mentioned here, these things, ordinary work like Vana and Ashram, is understood to be when you're acting in that way. Varnashram means regulated activity. It means regulating your activity, doing things in a regulated way, not acting like Dvipada Pashu, like a polished animal, just doing whatever I want to do to enjoy my senses. It means you begin to restrict your activities and make sure they're cultured and civilized and regulated for the pleasure of Krishna. So that is said to be in the mode of goodness, and it is supportive of bhakti. It helps. But devotional service like hearing and chanting, these are transcendental forms of devotional service. So we're getting the picture that there's different types of dasya or surrender, right? So it's a higher level to follow these 9 items of bhakti, which is what is being spoken of here. Srila Prabhupada writes, in the opinion of the karmis, fruitive workers, offering the results of karma is called servitorship. But according to Vaishnavacharyas like Srila Rupa Goswami, servitorship means constant engagement in some kind of service to the Lord. So, servitorship means, according to Rupa Goswami, means you are directly engaged in service. You're doing something directly for the pleasure of Krishna. Not just acting in this world and then giving. For example, when you, say you go to work, you make money, and then you offer the fruit to Krishna, you give the money to Krishna, it's good. But even better is to do directly, like when you come home, you do hearing and chanting. That's direct devotional service. That gives Krishna direct pleasure. So that's considered to be more favorable and more purifying to directly engage in Krishna service. Srila Prabhupada reconciles the two opinions. Those who are engaged in some fruitive activities or prescribed duties according to the 4 orders of social and spiritual life are not actually pure devotees. But still, because they are offering the result to the Lord, they are accepted as devotees. When one has no such desire, but acts spontaneously out of love of God, such a person must be accepted as a pure devotee. So, a pure devotee, as Prabhupada defines here, is someone who simply is willing just to do anything for Krishna. That is servitorship. Servitorship ultimately means we have to be willing to do anything for Krishna. That's what it means to be a pure servant. Now, a pure servant is willing to fulfill any desire of the master. Whatever he desires. If the master desires something, then the servant is willing to do it. right? So that's the definition of pure devotional service, seeing ourselves as a pure servant of Krishna, right? And to advance in Krishna consciousness, we have to be willing to do anything for Krishna. You know, we can't be, we're not surrendered if we're not willing to do anything for Krishna's pleasure, right? Which is actually a very advanced level of bhakti. Yeah, I'll just do anything, then I must, right? Because, you know, sometimes we say that, but to actually do it, that's a different thing. So surrender means that we just do anything which Krishna desires. Whatever the devotees and the spiritual masters, whatever they instruct us to do, we fulfill that order, right? And that way, that's considered to be pure devotional service. That's the essence of pure devotional service. Kain karyam. Okay, so this is the second type of servitorship. The first was, sorry, I just page me too far. The first was karmapanam, which has the two divisions, and now there is kainkardyam, serving in the mood of a personal attendant. In the first type of servitorship, karmapanam, one performs direct devotional service. In the second type of servitorship, kainkardyam, one performs direct devotional service in the mood of the Lord's personal attendant. The distinction lies in the attitude of the performer, not in the activities themselves. So in one sense, you can say this is like being, it's the attitude of the performer. Prabhupada says this in the beginning of the Nectar of Instruction. I think in the introduction, Prabhupada says, spiritual advancement is based upon the attitude of the performer or the attitude of the devotee. That's how we advance. What's our service attitude? How do we serve Krishna? Right? Are we willing to do anything for Krishna? Right? And if we have that service attitude where we put bhakti into our service, that is considered to be pure devotional service. Right? So this is the definition of pure devotional service, that you're willing to do anything for the pleasure of Krishna. Ahoituki apratihata yatma suprasiditi. Ahoituki, unmotivated. Apratihata, uninterrupted. That's pure devotional service, right? No interruptions. Just every day we serve Krishna, and without motivation, without the attitude of the devotee, his service attitude, that is how he advances. That's how he becomes dear to Krishna. He's willing to do anything for Krishna. Right? So when you have that service attitude, that you'll do anything for Krishna, that kind of attitude, that means that you will advance rapidly in Krishna consciousness. So, as it says here, the activities themselves don't really vary, in the sense that in the beginning of devotional service, we do the same activities that we do in the final stages of devotional service. Even in the liberated stage, we go back to the spiritual world. You know, you cook for Krishna here in this material world as sadhana, as a practice, a way to practice serving Krishna. When you go to the spiritual world, everyone's engaged in cooking. Although I have heard in the spiritual world they don't cook, everything just manifests. So sometimes it's hard to understand. Definitely when they come to this world, in Gokula Vrindavan, they definitely cook. The pastimes are there. In Goloka, I'm not 100% sure. I've heard both ways, but the point is, you know, like making garlands. It's a service you'll do here. It's a service you'll do there. So the service itself does not so much change, but it's your attitude while doing the service. And when you become very purified and very advanced in Krishna consciousness, your main meditation will be, I am an attendant of the Lord. I'm there, which is what Lord Chaitanya teaches in the Shikshastika. Ayi kinkaram. Ayi nandu tanuja kinkaram. Kinkaram comes from the word kim karomi. Kim karomi means like, what can I do? Sanskrit. Yeah. Kim karomi, like, what may I do? That's why when we greet each other or we greet the Lord, we offer namaskar. And the symbolism of that is these hands are yours. Namaste or namaskar or Hare Krishna. We're saying, when we offer pranam, we're saying, these hands are yours. How can I serve you? Which means we have to be willing to follow up on the offer. Sometimes the always go like this, but then you ask them to do service and they say, oh, actually, I'm busy. Then what are you doing? Because if you're saying like this, then it means you must serve. You must offer. If you're offering service, you must follow through and you must render that service. So King Karomi means, what may I do? That's the kinkaris are like the maidservants of Srimati Radharani. So that they see themselves as attendants, personal attendants. And when we become advanced in our devotional service, that will be our meditation. We are like a personal attendant for the service of the Lord. We will do anything to serve the Lord. We're just waiting as an attendant. Kim Karomi, how can I serve? Aye Nanda Tanuja Kinkaram, I am your servant. Please let me know what I can do. So, even if one engages in the 9 processes of direct devotional service, his activity is karmapanam, unless he serves with deep concentration in the mood of a personal attendant of the Lord. So, when you become more advanced, then that's your meditation. Right, I'm a personal attendant of the Lord. Just let me know. I will do whatever needs to be done. Gopi Batu, Pada Kamalayo, Dasa Dasa, Anudasa. Just let me know what I can do. Right? And that's the attitude we have to cultivate in our consciousness. Because if we want to understand the higher features of devotional service, such as conjugal rasa and friendship and Vatsalya Prem, parental love towards Krishna. If we want to understand these things, first of all, we have to develop a perfect service attitude. You have to be willing to do anything. And that is the point of ISKCON. That is the point of the Sankirtan movement. It's very clear that Prabhupada demanded and extracted this service attitude, this mood of surrender from his followers. You see, particularly in the early days, Prabhupada was very demanding, right? He was pushing everyone. Just like they gave Prabhupada a report in, I think, 75 or 76 about the book distribution for the year. At the end of the year, many books have been distributed. And after they read the report to Prabhupada, Prabhupada said, double it. Next year. 76 or 77, whichever the next year was, probably double it. So, and devotees think, oh, how can we do more? Or when Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he was with Prabhupada as his personal secretary in the final days, and he said that he was only sleeping 5-6 hours a night. He would get up and then he would chant his rounds, and he would eat, he said, rather quickly. The meals were just, have something to eat and take bath. He said the rest of the time he was Prabhupada's personal attendant. is with Prabhupada. And then Prabhupada said to him in the final days, he said, "Are you reading my books?" And Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he was bewildered. He was puzzled. He said, "Prabhupada, I don't have time. Like, I just sleep minimally, I eat and bathe minimally and chant my rounds. The rest of the time I'm with you." Prabhupada said, "It requires practice. You must," the Prabhupada said, "you have to minimize your eating and your sleeping." And he was already minimizing them. Prabhupada said to potentially minimize them even more, so then you'll have time to read his books on top of everything else he was doing. So Prabhupada was extracting surrender from his devotees, giving up the bodily concept of life, which is the mood. And if we follow this mood in the Sankirtan movement, then in due course of time, if we follow that mood, then we will understand the essence of service to Krishna in the higher rasas. Because if we don't have that surrendered mentality, that surrendered mood, we won't be able to understand the forms of relationship with Krishna. So that's why Prabhupada was extracting that mood of surrender first. As Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur says, if you dive deep into the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya and the Sankirtan movement, you will come up on the shore of the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. So that has to be our meditation, our mentality. Quoting the famous verse from Naradiya Purana on page 96, Rupa Goswami describes this mood of tireless endeavor to serve Krishna with body, mind, and words. A person acting in the service of Krishna with body, mind, intelligence, and words is a liberated person, even within the material world. Although he must be engaged in many so-called material activities. Kamana manasa gira. Your mind, your words, and your activities must be dedicated to the service of Krishna. This illustrates what it means to be a devotee in Kainkaryam. One constantly engages everything, mind, body, and words, in the Lord's personal service. So that is the meaning of sannyas. Within Varnashram culture, within the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, we have sannyasis. What is a sannyasi? Sannyasi is someone who dedicates their mind and their words to the service of Krishna. That's sannyas. And Bhakti True Swami, he came to Melbourne a number of years ago and he was giving class. And he said, actually, in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, sannyas, taking the order of sannyas, the vows of sannyas, dedicating the mind, the body, and the words in Krishna's service, actually means to enter the mood of the gopis, because that is their mood. Full surrender to Krishna and dedicating mind, body, and words in Krishna's service. So that is sannyas. That is the definition of sannyas. So a sannyasi is someone who follows in the mood of the gopis. What are the gopis' mood? What is their mood? We have the pastime. We may have even mentioned it not long ago that Krishna indicated that he had a headache, and he said to Narada, the only way I can be cured of my headache is if I have the dust from the lotus feet of my devotees. So Narada went to the different devotees. Everyone refused, as we would, to give the dust from our feet to the Lord. But the gopis, they understood if that will break Krishna's headache, if that will relieve him from distress, please take the dust of our feet. And then Narada said, aren't you scared of sinful reactions? Because no other devotee will do this. They said, we will accept the sinful reactions if it means Krishna's headache will be cured. So that is the highest level of surrender, of servitorship, of pure love for Krishna. So does anyone have any questions or comments at this point? So the next item of bhakti is called sakyam. Sakyam means devotional service in friendship. There are two types of friendship: Vishwas, a superior well-wisher, and Maitri, a friendly relationship with a peer. So first of all, there's Vishwas. Vishwas, this is from page 96. Vishwas means to have strong faith or confidence in the Lord as our benefactor. Srila Prabhupada summarizes the devotee who has confidence in devotional service to the Lord systematically follows all the rules and regulations with the faith that he will achieve the platform of transcendental life. So the devotee, as it says here, who has confidence in devotional service to the Lord, systematically follows the rules and regulations. So that is called sadhana bhakti. Right? Sadhana means we practice devotional service because we understand the sajja. The sajja means the goal. Sadhana must lead to sajja. And people they don't have clear definition of what sajja is, what the goal is. I was speaking to one young girl last night. She is beginning to associate with the devotees. She wants to come to India with me. And so, I was speaking to her to try to understand where her mind is at, what is her understanding at this point in time in her spiritual journey. And to have that understanding that sadhana leads to a particular sajja or a particular goal, I was questioning her, what is your goal? What's your understanding? What is it you want to achieve in spiritual life? So for many of us, it's very definite. The sajja is very definite. It is to develop Krishna prema, love for Krishna, in a particular rasa or relationship with Krishna. That's the goal of our Krishna consciousness. So sometimes people, they're practicing a spiritual path, they don't have that goal defined. They're doing sadhana, but they're not fixed on the goal yet. So we have to practice our sadhana with the goal in mind. In other words, we have to be clear about what we want. We have to meditate on it very deeply. So it is mentioned here that Draupadi is a devotee who sees the Lord as a friend in the sense of Vishwas, her well-wisher and protector. In the Nectar of Devotion, Srila Prabhupada adds a twist to this aspect of transcendental service. Ordinarily, the devotee sees the Lord as the well-wisher. But by preaching Krishna consciousness, the devotee becomes the well-wisher of the Lord. So, Vishwas means friendship. In other words, Krishna is my superior. He is my protector. He is my maintainer, which is good that we see like that. But then, as Prabhupada points out here, a devotee may even get to the state of consciousness where he thinks, or he begins to act like a well-wisher of the Lord, in the sense that Lord Chaitanya says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, I am a gardener in the garden of bhakti, and I'm growing these trees which are producing fruits, the fruits of love of Godhead. And Lord Chaitanya humbly says, I am but one gardener. How many fruits can I distribute? It's like, if we're one person, how much can we distribute to another group? How much can you give? If you have a basket of fruits, how much can you give? You need assistance basket of fruits or something, we ask someone, can you please help me distribute them? So Lord Chaitanya says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, I am one person. How can I distribute all this love of Godhead? So he asked the devotees to assist him, and that's what the Sankirtan devotees do. That's what the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu do. They assist the Lord in distributing love of Godhead. And in that way, Prabhupada says, you become the well-wisher of the Lord. You're trying to assist him. And so it's like a type of friendship, that you're trying to assist the Lord. That's our sentiment. We're trying to help the Lord. Since Vishwash refers to faith in the Lord, Srila Rupa Goswami will discuss the topic of faith. He explains that it has two stages. One, Shraddha, preliminary faith, and Vishwash, mature faith. First, there is Shraddha, the simple faith necessary for beginning to engage in devotional service, which in time matures into Vishwash, or strong faith. So, Vishwash refers to faith. That's the meaning of the word. Shraddha Shabde Vishwasha Kahe Sudrida Nischaya. Krishna Bhakti Hoile Savakama Krito Hoya. In Chaitanya Charitamrita it says the definition of faith is Krishna Bhakti Hoile Savakama Krito Hoya. If I just do Krishna Bhakti, if I just do service for Krishna, Savakama Krito Hoya, all other activities will be performed or completed or done. If you just serve Krishna, everything else is complete. Even if you can't satisfy everyone in this material world, all your material obligations, you can't do them all. But if you're serving Krishna, it's all done. That's faith. That's what our faith is like. Let me just serve Krishna. Everything else, Krishna will take care of everything else. Sometimes we can't please all of our family members or fulfill all our material responsibilities. Sometimes we can't do it, but we understand if I just keep serving Krishna, Krishna will take care of everything. He will give liberation to these personalities. So, faith has two stages, preliminary faith and mature faith. So, in the beginning, Vishwash means we serve Krishna as our friend. We have faith that if I serve Krishna, everything will become complete. And then in due course of time, it matures. And then we have very strong faith in due course of time. Very strong faith that by serving Krishna, everything will be complete. I will attain everything, right? And Krishna will take care of everything. And the more we advance in devotional service, the more we feel like this. On page 97, Srila Prabhupada says, a neophyte devotee who has simply developed a slight love of Godhead is certainly a prospective candidate for devotional service. When he becomes firmly fixed in such devotional service, that assured status becomes a confidential part of his devotional service. So in the beginning, we just have a little bit of faith. Actually, spiritual life is based on just this one thing, Shraddha or faith. It says that the beginning of spiritual life is Shraddha. Shraddha means faith. And if you look at our advancement as we advance, all the spiritual advancement really is just an increase of faith. You know, how do we, what's the demarcation or the definition of someone who is more advanced or less advanced? Really, it's just how much faith do they have. A very advanced devotee, he just has faith. I don't have to do anything in this world except serve Krishna. and he fully depends on Krishna and fully devotes himself to Krishna's service. Whereas someone who has less faith, it's mixed. Well, Krishna will look after me, but I also have to do so many material things in this world to make sure my life is successful. But an advanced devotee doesn't think like that. He thinks, no, I'll just serve Krishna. Everything will be taken care of in due course of time. Right? So that is the definition. Faith means, advancement just means faith increases. So when one has this beginning, Vishwas, or this beginning type of friendship with Krishna, he thinks, yes, I think Krishna is my friend, he will look after me. Right? And then that advances more and more, that increases more and more. Then there is the next type of friendship, which is called Maitri. Now, this is a more advanced stage of friendship. The second type of friendship, Maitri, occurs at an advanced stage when a devotee begins to serve the deity in a mood of fraternity or equality. Srila Prabhupada mentions, sometimes it is found that a pure devotee lies down in the temple of the Lord in order to serve him as a confidential friend. Such friendly behavior of a devotee may be accepted as raganuga, or spontaneous, although, according to regulative principles, no one can lie down in the temple of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This spontaneous love of Godhead may be grouped under devotional service in friendship, from page 97. This is an example of Maitri friendship. So Prabhupada is giving this definition. When one becomes very advanced, it states within the Nectar of Devotion, don't sleep in the temple. It's an offense. But a devotee may think, let me sleep maybe in the temple room itself to protect the deity. I have to stay up and protect the deity. I remember when we first joined the ashram, now they have like a security system in the temple. So like if the doors are open, the alarm goes off. When I first joined, the brahmacharis every night, at least one of us would sleep outside the on the veranda. Yeah, outside to guard the, and we enjoyed it so much. Quite often, 3 or 4 of us would do it. We didn't have to. We only had to be one of us had to do it. But quite often, 3 or 4 of us would do it, and we just enjoyed it. So it means, that's not exactly the same because that's not in the temple room itself, but a very advanced devotee might even sleep in the temple room, which normally we would not do. But he might do that to guard the deity. So Prabhupada gives that as an example of Maitri, when one is very attached to the Lord as a friend. Yeah, he might even break the rules and the regulations in order to please the Lord. Like another example in Chaitanya Charitamrita is Govinda Das, who was Lord Chaitanya's personal servant. Lord Chaitanya would take lunch each day, and then after lunch he would rest, and Govinda Das would massage the Lord's body, and Lord Chaitanya would fall asleep, and then Lord Chaitanya woke up after resting, and Govinda Das was sitting next to him, and because the doorway was there and he came in, he massaged one side of the Lord's body. He then put a gamsha over the Lord, stepped over the Lord's body, massaged the other side of his body. When he woke up, Lord Chaitanya said, why are you still here? Why didn't you go and have your prasadam? He said, because I couldn't step over your body. You're blocking the door. And Lord Chaitanya said, but you stepped over my body to massage. He said, yes. He said, for your service, I will potentially commit an offense. But for my own sense gratification of just having my own lunch, I'm not going to step over your body just for that. So this is in servitorship, but it's also an example of like intimacy with the Lord, or Maitri, or deep friendship with the Lord. That one may even do things which are unconventional for the pleasure of the Lord. So any points there? on Sakya. Sakya means friendship. So then the next item is Atmanivedanam, which means surrendering everything to the Lord. This is from page 97 and 98. Srila Prabhupada comments, according to different authorities, self is differently defined. Self is sometimes considered to refer to the spirit self or soul, and self is sometimes considered to refer to the mind or to the body. So, to give one's very self, it can mean giving your mind to Krishna, giving your body to Krishna, giving your soul to Krishna, whatever it is. It actually says in Nectar of Devotion, one should not become before the deity without offering a gift. Actually says that. In the very early days of ISKCON, the devotees read this. They used to keep a barrel of rice next to the door of the temple. So when they came in, everyone would pick up a handful, and when they came in front of the altar, they would give it to the Lord. Because it says you should not enter the temple without offering a gift. So sometimes I think of this, and when we offer our obeisances before the deity, I think, Krishna, I'll give you myself, because I don't have a physical gift. I'm not organized enough to have a physical gift, but at least please accept me, this imperfect wretch of a devotee. Please at least accept this as some sort of an offering, a humble offering. I'll give you myself, I'll give you my service. So that is the mood of Atmanivedanam, offering the mind, the body, or your very soul to Krishna. Depending on the definition, the term Atmanivedanam takes on three meanings. If Atman refers to the body, then Atmanivedanam means full bodily surrender. If Atman refers to the mind, then Atmanivedanam means full mental surrender. And if Atman refers to the spirit self, then Atmanivedanam means full surrender of self-identity. The prayer of Jamuna Acharya, which is on page 98, is an example of Atma being defined as the soul or possessor of the body. In this case, Atmanivedanam means surrender of the egoistic attachment to the body. Such a surrendered devotee becomes unconcerned, even about the bodily form of life in which he finds himself. My dear Lord, I may be living within some body as a human being or a demigod, but whatever mode of life, I do not mind, because these bodies are simply byproducts of the three modes of material nature, and I, who am in possession of these bodies, am surrendering myself unto you. So this is the prayer of an advanced devotee. He thinks that whatever situation I find myself in this material world, I surrender it unto you. So whatever birth we've taken, we just surrender that to Krishna. Whatever qualification or disqualification we have, we try to use that in Krishna's service. The reference from Hari Bhakti Viveka illustrates the principle of surrendering our body to the Lord. The next item of bhakti is called Nija Priyopa Aranam, which means offering a favorite article to the deity. This simple means of performing devotional service has two aspects: to offer the Lord our own favorite articles and to offer the Lord his favorite articles, such as peacock feathers, etc. So this means offering a favorite article to the Lord. I remember many years ago, my mother gave me, I think it was a locket. I'm just trying to think, it was a long time ago. Oh, no. It was It was an opal, like a stone, semi-precious Australian stone. So she gave that. And I offered it to the deities in Melbourne. And I think Radharani still wears it. It's a opal. And actually, because I was a new devotee, I didn't really understand the etiquette. You shouldn't offer the deity something which has been used by someone else. My mother wore it and then she gave it to me as a gift. And I was a brahmachari, so I thought, I don't need it. So I offered it to the deities, and the deity, even though there's a fault there because I shouldn't have offered something technically which has been used already by someone else, but somehow the deities accept it. And also I offered many years ago a locket, because I read that Krishna and Radharani wear lockets, and Radharani's locket, when you open it, is a picture of Krishna, and Krishna's locket has a picture of Radha. So I gave both of them lockets with pictures of each other, and I think they still wear those lockets. I was in the deity room a few years back, and I saw they were still wearing them. So it means offering a favorite article, something that Krishna likes, because I read he wears the locket, so obviously he likes it, or something that we like, then we offer that to Krishna. So offering a favorite article, that's an item of bhakti. The next item is called Tad Arte Kila Chestitam, performing all endeavors for Krishna. Everyone, this is from page 99, everyone can easily perform this aspect of sadhana bhakti, even those who are entangled in worldly responsibilities. Srila Prabhupada explains the modern application of this item. A devotee who has a great establishment or factory may offer the fruits of such a material possession for the service of the Lord. So performing all endeavors for Krishna. So, if we own a factory or something, then use it for Krishna. Whatever we own. Like some of us have money, so use the money for Krishna. Some of us have energy. Use your energy for Krishna. Some of us have intelligence. Use your intelligence for Krishna. Some of us speak nicely. Speak about Krishna. We have particular skills. Use them for Krishna. Whatever it is, then use your endeavor for Krishna. Being a surrendered soul is the next item of bhakti. This is called Sharanapati. There is a subtle distinction between Atmanivedanam, surrendering everything to the Lord, and Sharanapati, being a surrendered soul. Sharanapati means to consider oneself completely subservient to and protected by the Lord. Atmanivedanam also means self-dedication, but such dedication may or may not be accompanied by such feelings of subservience and dependence. Bali Maharaj is an example of Atmanivedanam without a feeling of subservient dependence on the Lord. So it's a subtle differentiation. But Sharanapati means to consider oneself completely subservient to and protected by the Lord. So this is the kind of mood that we need to cultivate in devotional service. And the final item in this chapter is serving trees such as Tulsi. Tadiyanam sevanam tulasyaha. The reference quoted to substantiate this item broadens the opportunities for serving Tulsi. It is simply auspicious to see, pray to, bow before, hear about, or serve Tulsi. So it's an item of bhakti. Why? Because Tulsi is very dear to Krishna. In the spiritual world, Tulsi Devi is known as Brinda Devi, who is the gopi that Brindavan is named after, Brinda Devi. So one time Radha and Krishna, because they have so much affection for Brinda Devi, who serves them so nicely, Radha and Krishna said, we need to give her a gift. So they said to Brinda Devi, what do you want? She said to Krishna, said, I just want, wherever you go, I want to serve you. And then Krishna thought, and he thought, well, I go many places. I expand as thousands and millions of deities all through the universe. I appear as Shalagram Shila, who is worshipped countless places. So then he thought, whenever I appear as Shalagram, you shall appear as Tulasi, the sacred plant, and I will instruct Narada to Narad Muni will write in the Narada Bhakti Sutras that wherever the Shalagram Shila or the deity is worshipped, Tulsi must be offered, or otherwise the deity or the Shalagram will not accept the offering. So in that way, we're always together. So that's how Tulsi manifested in this world of men. She came down, Brinda Devi manifested as Tulsi, and Tulsi is sacred for the devotee. We wear Tulsi Kantimala. We always wear that to keep Tulsi close to us, to purify us. The word Tulsi means auspicious. So she purifies us. We chant on Japamala, Tulsi Japamala, just like the other day. Must have been Monday. There were visitors here. Someone came into the shop and they said, do you have counting? I thought they meant like the counting beads. Counting. And I said, yeah, I showed them. They said, no, counting, like the clicker, what we call clickers. Click, 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 Hare Krishna. I said, no. I said, we might even have them, I don't know, but I said, no. I said, Shastra says you must chant on Tulsi beads, not on these clickers. So it's there, it's an injunction. We chant on Tulsi beads, we wear Tulsi around our neck, we bow down and worship the Tulsi plant because she is the mother of devotion. So it's an item of bhakti to worship Tulsi. She's very dear to Lord Krishna. Krishna Jivani, the word Krishna Jivani, it's one of her names, means the life of Krishna. So we offer her respect. So I'll stop there. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Ali Maharaj, I wonder if you could just sort of explain a little bit Atmani Vedanam and Ali Maharaj, why that's mentioned there.
Yeah, because each of the items, there's a personality who represents that item. So Vedanam is represented by Bali Maharaj, because Vamana Dev said, give me 3 steps of land. And as we know from the story in the 8th canto, in 2 steps, he took the whole universe. So he said, now what are you going to offer me? You gave me 3 steps. Now what will you offer me? And he said, well, put the 3rd step on my head. In other words, I offer myself to you, myself, my kingdom, everything to you. So that's an example of Atma Nivedanam, offering everything to Krishna. Yeah. So, any other questions or comments? Okay, we'll see you next week. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki. Hare Krishna.